So dive in for the first, couple years, building the residential side of the business. Um, Instant success, any struggles, 2000, I got in 2011, I was licensed August of 2011. I started working in real estate in March of 2011 as an admin. So I kind of know exactly that time frame. Really, I didn't really start selling until really 2012.
Sure.
Um,
We're right
but
on.
did you hit the ground running and it's just been all success since then? Can you talk about some of that
Sure.
first couple years of getting in?
Well, I mean, I wasn't breaking any records, I wasn't, on any lists or anything, but I was making more money than I had ever made, within those first couple years, even on, the lower end of like a production spectrum. And
Yeah,
so, I mean, I'm sure there were times, and I don't remember too many, really negative experiences or times where, I was worried too much. I mean, I'm sure we've all experienced at some point, like I'm going out of, the fear factor of I'm going out of business and like it's all over, right? But early on, I think I probably was selling 2 or 3 million a year and making good amount of money. I was living very cheap. I had like a mortgage that was $750, and I didn't have a car payment, so I had a lot of stuff in my corner that helped. And I think as agents who are getting into the business, and I teach at Hondros College, the students that are getting their license. So it's interesting experience watching them start now because of what a roller coaster of a year it's been. But one of the things I tell them is, you know, is they get worried about being part time. Are people going to be okay with me being part time? I tell them, look, unless you've got some kind of resources in the bank and to get you started, I don't know that there's really another way to do it, unless you're
right.
really going to dedicate yourself and work really hard, you know. But the even with the way the market's going, there's money out there to be made. There's business to be had. Sign up with a good broker or mentor or a coach like you, and you'll make it go. But it's not. I tell people, I use the field of dreams analogy. It's like if I build it, they will come, and it doesn't work like that. It's like a lot of people get their license and think a few posts on social media and they're going to be the next rock star, and it just doesn't work like that. So, I enjoy being the broker, working with the students and helping them, you know, learn and do the things that I probably did wrong, in those early days. So
Yeah.
I wasn't breaking records. I did okay, but so 2015 is when I got the broker's license and we kind of took this to the next step. So
No, that's awesome. I gotta joke. I have to ask. When we got licensed, there was probably what 10, 15 people in our classes at Hondros. And then
back then when I did it, like in 2007, the only way you could do it was in that classroom. Like there was no online, there was no click through slides. So our class was actually pretty big. They had,
yours was big probably in '07 because the market was crazy.
well, yeah, and everybody, yeah, the market was crazy then, and everybody thought this was easy money, and it's a little bit of that now. But is that it was a big room. They had that big room in the middle, and now in the classes that I teach, we're in a small classroom and it's maybe 15, 20 people.
Yeah,
So it is much smaller. No more people doing it online.
online. Yeah. Wayne, when you got into the residential side, did you just jump in by yourself? Did you join a team?
Nope, I just
Um,
on my own. And weirdly enough, again, it's like you're asking for the planning guy. It's probably not me. But I got an email, a random email from a broker, and it was John Stomps at Berkshire Hathaway office up in Powell. And so went and met with John, and then later that day transferred my license, and I just did it all on my own. It was John was a wonderful broker, and I felt so like I had this anxiety in me. I didn't want to let him down or hurt him. When I was leaving the company, he's such a
yeah,
good guy. And I just remember going into his office, and he was great about it. He's like, if this doesn't work out, the door's always open. You come back. He's like, we've enjoyed having you. And so I just landed in. I don't know. I'm fortunate that I land in places that I don't know how it happens, but where I'm
Some
supposed to be. Like,
sometimes, it's luck, right? I tell people all the time, I got lucky. Um, the people that know me know the story. Like, I literally went online, found random people in real estate. I think I googled real estate agents. Um, the only person to respond to me was Tracy Chambers from Keller Williams
uh-huh,
Consultants,
uh-huh.
and met with her. And she's like, "Hey, I got a young dude wanting to build a team. I think you get along with him well." And the rest is history,
Yeah.
and it was just luck. And I tell people, if I didn't have Ryan as my mentor and team lead, I wouldn't be in this business,
Oh, sure.
you know.
You got
Um,
someone that's gonna help. Like, and John was my guy, and he, he's a little older school. Like, he's older, like older than
yeah,
me, and so I had to kind of find my way because technology, like social media and stuff, was kind of in its early stages, back then. So,
yeah,
and John wasn't real in tune to that kind of stuff, but I was young enough at the time, I figured it out. So, but you have to have someone like him or Ryan for you that's gonna help you lay that groundwork and be successful. Because if you try to figure it all out on your own, you're never gonna get there.
yeah. No, I'm right there with you. So 2015, you decide to get broker's license. Um, Kind of walk me through the thought process behind that, because obviously there are agents, that, you know, for some that's the natural next step, right? They want to kind of go and do it and maybe build their own brokerage or whatever the case may be. Some people like me, like I don't want that because I don't want the liability and all of those things. Kind of walk me through some of that thought process, and then kind of lead me up to 2015 to kind of current day.
Yep. So I'm an only child, which means I'm stubborn. I like to do things my way. And I always knew when I got the license, like once I started selling and I figured out this is for me, I always knew I was going to go the broker route. And honestly, you gotta have, they say 20 transactions. It's really 40. We know because it's each is
Right.
um, but really I hit 40 and I went and sat for the broker test. I didn't waste any time. And at that moment in my life, it just, the MBA and my experience at Tech Columbus and watching people grow a business, real estate was a natural fit for me to do that. I'm not a tech guy. I'm pretty tech savvy, but as far as creating technology, that's not me. And so, I never really thought about the team route. I don't know why. And in retrospect, I don't really have a good reason for that. But I started the brokerage. I'd actually brought some of my friends into the brokerage where I was working before I got my broker's license, and they came with me. So I had a few from the beginning. I think we started with probably 3 or 4 people in those early days. And I always tell this story. So me and Jenny Reitz went to lunch with a lender, and they were, like lenders do, just networking and trying to, get business. And they had a program where, like, if you had so many listings, they would, contribute towards marketing. It was based on how many listings you. And he looked at us and he said, "How many listings do you have?" And it was one of the most embarrassing moments. But it was like Jenny and I both looked at each other and we're like, "I got one coming up." Like, I don't have any. It's like, and I was so embarrassed by that. And um, they're like, "Okay, well, we're gonna need more than that." And so, it's like those early days, in starting the company, is like I kind of just went into it blindly, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
you're not gonna make this something, and I'm proud that, in that first year, I think we maybe did 5 or 7 million, but between like 3 people. So we were none of
Sure.
us were breaking records. And, we grew and we were doubling, year over year, and the number of agents and the volume and transaction size and all of that, so this, like, just being a realist, you got to get the snowball rolling, and it's like we
Yeah.
got the snowball rolling, and now we're up to almost 20. We probably do between, on average, you know how it is,
Yeah.
80% of the agents do 80% of the business.
Yeah.
We have some agents that are more one off, kind of, but we also have, more that are doing closer to 10 million. But we'll
Yeah.
probably do closer to between 35, 40 million. So we're not still not breaking any records, but but it's all been mostly organic growth. It's like meeting
Yeah.
people through our agents, agents I've co-opted with, or people I've met through Hondros, like either through classes or networking events or whatever. So, but we've just been kind of keeping the snowball going, and hoping it keeps going in that direction. So,
No, I love it. When you're building something like that, whether it's a brokerage, whether it's a team, y- or as an agent, I tell agents like you have to fall in love with the process. If you don't fall in love with the process, it's going to be brutal for you. It's probably not going to be the right career for you,
I had a
right?
my real estate class that said, "I don't like not being able to be in control." And I just looked at it, I said, and you're getting into real estate? Like, because there's so little we have control over. Everybody wants to think that we can will things to go a particular direction, but at the end of the day, I'm just kind of the middleman, and it's like,
Yeah,
but you're right. I mean, you know, people get into the business because they love houses and they love the perception of what it means to be a realtor.
yeah.
But we know perception and reality are two entirely different things. And and I like to believe that I've kind of learned in recruiting and meeting people which are going to be the more successful agents. But boy, that's not an easy predictable task. It's like I brought in some
No,
agents who I thought, I think they might struggle. They're an introvert, not really outgoing, but then they end up, thriving. And then I've had agents that are, the opposite who flounder a little bit. So,
yeah.
but you're right. It's the process, repeatable processes, making sure you've got systems and that you enjoy what you do. If you can get that stuff down, you'll be successful.
And a lot of people, they see the end result, right? Like they see kind of what you've already built and what you're going to, but they don't remember the beginning years. Like people see our team now and it's like, yeah, but
Yeah,
there was this,
there
that
lean
got us to this point.
there was a lot of work that got you there. And and someone once said to me, or you see the quotes or memes or whatever on social media, is don't compare your stage of your journey to someone else. It's like
Yeah.
we all see higher producing agents and teams and think, man, like why can't I have that? But then you
Yeah.
look at it and they've been doing it for 10 years longer or 5 years longer. So they're farther
Yeah.
along in that evolutionary process. So just don't compare yourself, head down, do your work, and you're competing only with yourself.
I don't know if you like to read books or not, but the book The Gap and the Gain
Mhm,
is a great one to pick up along that subject.
mhm,
If you guys haven't read that one yet, or if you're more of an audible, like pick that book up and start it tomorrow
uh-huh,
because it talks about just that, right? A lot of times we find ourselves, and it's just human nature. We find ourselves into that gap of comparing, to others, or we're not hitting our goals, or we're not there yet, and whatever the case may be. But it's really looking at the gain and looking back at how far we've come, even over the last 30 days, even last 90 days. It doesn't have to be the significant, like, hey, like I've come this far in 5 years. What have you done that you've improved over the last 60 days?
yeah,
You know, so the gap in the gain, pick that up because it's well worth the read.
yeah. And I don't read too many of like business books like that. So I bought a place down in Fort Lauderdale earlier this year, and I drove down once, to get some stuff down there. Downloaded some ebooks, you listen to on the way down. So a couple for me, like and it's unrelated, not real estate books,
Right, right.
like Shoe Dog, like the book about Phil Knight and starting
Yeah,
like. And I think we forget, especially as real estate agents, because most agents aren't working in an office. You don't see your colleagues or other people all the time. So I equate it to sometimes working on an island. That it's like you think you're the only one with these thoughts or with particular struggles or whatever it is. But then the moment you get in a circle of other agents, you realize, oh my gosh, it's like everybody's dealing with this, right?
yeah,
And your calls on Clubhouse, in the morning. I learned a lot
Yes.
listening to other agents and that group. So that would be another piece of advice is, if you haven't been on one of the Clubhouse calls, I think those are phenomenal. Like, so get on and get around agents, get yourself out of the house and the office or wherever you've cooped yourself up to meet with folks.
Yeah. We had I do prospecting night every Tuesday.
Mhm.
And I always say every Tuesday as long as I'm in town, because one of the things as far as why I got into real estate is the freedom and flexibility of the schedule and of the business. So I like to travel. It's one of my whys, right? And we had an agent yesterday who, newer to the business. I don't know, been licensed 3 4 years or 3 or 4 months, something like that. And he just kind of sat in and listened, picked up on conversations. I tell agents all the time, just get into real estate environments.
Yes.
If you're in a slump and you don't have things going your way, change your environment, get out of the house, go to an office, go to a Starbucks, go to co-work, call up your real estate friend and say, hey, what are you doing today? I just need to, um, you know, break this momentum of this slump. And you mentioned momentum earlier. One of the hardest things to do is getting that momentum in your business going. What's even harder is keeping it going, right?
And mental space, right? Because when it gets down and things aren't going the way you want, you beat yourself up and the market beats you up and people beat you up and this business, if you let it, it will eat you alive. And we've all had those days where we question life choices and how I got where I was. But the beautiful thing about our business is like it's all very temporary, right? It's like
Yeah.
one bad transaction is not going to last forever. It's maybe 30 days and then you move on. But
Yeah.
yeah, get out. There's a local meeting somewhere every day of the week, like Worthington, Delaware, wherever you are. Get up and go to those because they're usually the successful agents that are there. And success to me breeds success. So being
Yeah.
around successful people makes you want more and you see how people achieve what they do.
Yeah. For sure.